Hi, I'm Trevor Carroll with Fraser Yachts. I'm down here at Viking Exhaust with Johan Hagström.
Nice to meet you.
Good to meet you.
Yeah.
Today we're going to talk about what makes Viking Exhaust different from the other companies, what they're doing to stay cutting edge with the new green requirements, and what Johan has developed with his system. We're not going to get too in depth about that as it's proprietary, but we're going to talk about the whole process of building an exhaust system for either a sport fish or a large yacht or everything in between. So, Johan?
Yeah, some of the things that if we do something a little bit different is if you come in with an existing exhaust, you need to have it replaced. And we discovered that it's sized incorrectly, perhaps taking up too much space in the engine room. It gets more costly when you make it bigger. It's harder to cool the gases when you have a big tank versus a little smaller tank. So we will run the numbers and meet the specs of the engine with the back pressure and most likely resize it. Most of the time we go a little bit smaller and get things to work a little bit better for.
So let me ask, so with an existing exhaust system, say hypothetically a 2005, 90 Horizon that I'm having problems with the spray rate,
cooling?
Yeah, the cooling side of it. Now, can you guys come in and cut that exhaust system out and bring it back here and repair it, or either build us a new one in existing, or do you like to prefer to do it from scratch for new boats?
Well, if it's in need of being replaced, for sure I will recommend replacing it. But if it can be salvaged and you don't have to go through the expense of getting a whole new exhaust,
okay,
we certainly take it out and we can just change either the spray ring, the wet portion, or just the way we inject the water and leave your spray ring alone and just cutting out the diffuser and get better cooling that way. So there's several options.
Okay.
And I'm not going to tell you need a new exhaust if your exhaust is perfectly fine in the dry section.
Right.
Go through that expense.
Yeah. Well, that's good to know. And I am excited to meet you and learn about this company because we need more exhaust companies. So
Good.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah. And so let's talk a little bit about where the process starts here when you're building an exhaust system. So I see you've got the sheet metal over here, you've got the metal bending machine and the rollers and all that. So sheet metal comes in the door here and then moves its way over here to the racks, and you guys start developing it from there.
Yeah, so we either get a CAD file sent from a builder, and of course we have our CAD designer and we draw it up. So once the design is done, the drawing comes out here to the floor and it goes to the parts cutters that starts cutting the parts from the drawing, put them on a cart, and once the fabricator is ready for his next assignment, then he grab the cart and the drawing and we build it. Or we get samples, as you see here on the floor. We just talked about, we get samples coming in, and we just jig them up, and if it's the correct size and everything, we just build it with the endpoints from the samples.
And so you guys are doing all your own in-house CAD work as well?
Yes.
Okay. Wow, that's impressive. So I can come to you theoretically and say, hey, I'm building a 60-meter boat in, Italy, and I've got, two 12V 4000s, and here's what, I can send you all the specs on the boat, and you can build the system from there.
Correct.
Yeah.
If we get the machinery arrangement drawing, that's all we need. I don't need the whole boat. It's a large file.
Right.
But the machinery arrangement, we'll design the exhaust for you.
Okay. Yeah.
If you need me to come measure it wherever it is, I'll go measure it too.
Okay. That's great. Yeah. It's really it's nice to find somebody willing to do that, because it's hard to find people to get on a plane and go to places and sort of leave the shop, so to speak. So
I'll probably go to the Carolinas or North Carolina, basically probably 3 to 4 times a year.
Yeah. So what builders do you work with up there?
Winter Custom Yacht.
Okay.
Jared Bay.
Yeah.
Did some work for Bayless.
Yeah.
Gregory Poole was the Caterpillar distributor up there. We do a lot of work for them.
He's a personal friend.
Oh,
great guy.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Good. Crossweight, they do some boats up there?
Built 2 boats for Bobby Crossweight.
Okay, cool. Very nice. Yeah, we have a bunch of exhaust in here now for the Carolina boats.
Okay.
I mean, they're always in a rush. You know, they're charter boats, right? You got to go fishing.
Yeah.
So it can get a little hectic with them.
It's I'm a big fan. I'm from South Carolina originally, but I'm a big fan of the jig built boats.
Yes.
You know.
Very nice.
I think it's just such a neat process the way they do the glass over
Ricky
blades.
Scarborough too.
Yeah,
nice stuff.
absolutely. Yeah, a lot of wonderful builders. So anyway,
the other thing we do is like we have all our exhaust systems. Anything that touches seawater, we use a high nickel alloy.
okay.
It's the peace of mind because 316 stainless is good in the dry section, but when it's salt water comes into play, it just doesn't hold up long enough. And we offer a 10-year warranty.
Yeah,
That's all our stuff is a 10-year warranty. So I know the materials we need to use for it to make it last, so you don't have to stop fishing or entertain.
Yeah, it's good to know, and that is peace of mind because so often exhaust systems do fail and start to have problems, or high exhaust temperatures or back pressure. And as I was talking to you earlier, it's really nice when you're building a new boat in the process and the exhaust system goes in and Caterpillar or somebody comes back and says, hey, look, we've got some back pressure issues or whatever the case may be. And just accountability with the whole process makes a big, I love to hear you talk about how you, make that happen.
Yeah, I like to take control so we don't have customers having to listen to people pointing fingers and blaming left back and forth all the time. So
yeah, because at the end of the day, the customers just don't like to hear that.
No, they just want it to be done.
And they're spending a lot of money for a big toy or house or whatever you want to call it, and they just want it to be right.
Yeah, and not to say that anybody is perfect. We all have our mistakes, but it's what do you do to make it right? That's I always jump onto it to make it right, and we worry about the details later. Just get him out on his boat, fishing, whatever it is.
Well, I would tell you that from my point of view, because every boat's different, and especially when you're dealing with custom boats and water flow over the hull. So if it's an underwater exhaust system, or if it's a system with bypass valves and an underwater component, or whatever, every hull's going to be different. So it very rarely, I think, do you necessarily nail it on the first mark. You have to come back and sort of tweak things a little bit, and I think that's important. Yeah.
Fortunately, we've done this for quite some time, so the tweaking is very, very rare and minimal.
Yeah. So, Johan, why don't you tell us a little bit about how the process starts when you're building a new exhaust system?
Sure, be happy to. So, a drawing come out of the office, comes out here on the floor, parts starts to get cut over here. We use, as you can see, pipe elbows for smooth flow of the exhaust. Is butt fitted everything, really good for back pressure. Parts get cut, some over there in the saw. We have the shear, we got the rollers, we roll our tubes and pipes. It goes to the fabricator welder. He gets the drawing. All his parts are going to be in the cart for this particular project. So flanges, elbows, puts together, everything is rolled and pressed. So he just built it now to meet the dimensions on the drawings. Once the fabricator is done, he passes it over to the welder, welds everything. It gets purge welded, fill up the inside with argon.
Right.
So it's a stronger weld.
Yep.
And once the welder is done, he wheels it down here to the pressure testing area. So we pressure test everything at 5 psi, make sure we don't have any leaks. Once that's completed and we know there's no leaks, we ship it over or wheel it over to this department, where the insulation and the hard coating takes place.
With the wrapping.
Yeah. Well, some people want blankets, so we have sewing machines, so we sew blankets, and certain areas of the exhaust, like the compensators, of course, can't be hard coated, so they need a blanket. But these guys here, they put the insulation on and the hard coating. We stick it in the oven to cure it.
Yeah.
The pre-preg. And then it goes through a visual inspection, make sure everything is cleaned up and good, and it doesn't have any dings or dents or parts like that.
It's a very impressive process.
We move it up into here, this area up here, which is the shipping and receiving.
Yeah.
The guys up here, they pull out all the stock items like bolts, gaskets, hoses, clamps, support stanchions, stuff like that, and they pack it all up in here, and then it leaves for the customer.
But your work looks very, very impressive. The
Thank you.
welds are all, yeah. It's a neat process, for sure.
We do also install and remove exhaust, but through another company.
And you were telling me, how many years have you been doing this now?
I started in 1994, and
Wow.
that's all I've been doing since.
Yeah.
Is marine exhaust.
Yeah.
So it's a while.
I would say you probably have a good understanding of it by now.
I would hope so. I would think so myself, but
Yeah.
it's never gotten dull or boring because it's
Right.
always so different.
Yeah.
There's,
Well, the boats are getting faster.
yeah.
And, you know.
New engines coming
Yeah.
out.
Absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I really do enjoy
Yeah.
boats. Small, big.
Well, that's really neat, Johan. Tell me a little bit about the Zemo system.
All right, so diesel particulate filters has been going on for quite some time, but this company's product, I feel, is extremely well designed and engineered. They're out of Holland. We became the U.S. and Caribbean distributor for them this year, or at the end of last year. We had some meetings. Their product and their customer support is phenomenal. They have certain things like they have an internal bypass. Let's say you do clog up your filters and you still want to run your generator and have power.
Right.
It's all done automatically. If the pressure goes up too high, the bypass valve will sense it and will open up. So yes, you're not going to have the cleaning that you wanted, but you can still run the generator without it causing too much back pressure because your filters are clogged. And you don't have to take them out. It just takes care of itself, opens up that bypass.
So in a situation where, you know, you're on a 50-meter boat or yacht and you know, you got, you know, big 100 kW generators and you're running a light load, like 30 or 40% load, you don't have a load bank on board to compensate for that. You're saying that this system will compensate for the lack of a load bank per se with the carbon buildup that you're putting off.
Exactly.
Yeah, so you're not going to be putting out a ton of soot into the water,
No.
which translates into dirtying up tenders and jet skis and
People swimming.
yeah,
there.
people swimming in the exhaust.
Yeah,
Well,
no. So the heater will kick on if the exhaust gas temperature drops off because you have
Yeah.
a low load. You'll also sense it. The control box will turn the heater on, and it's a variable. It
Yeah.
could be a 40 kilowatt, 30, 40,
Okay.
60 kilowatt heater, but it's variable. It just goes as much as what you need to bring the temperature up.
Okay.
So that the unburned fuel that gets trapped in the filter
Yeah.
will be hot enough to turn it into ash.
Okay. And so you're saying that the temperature is variable on that, but say at its hottest, what would you say that that's operating at its hottest?
This particular heater,
Yeah.
the temperature, I don't have that number.
Right.
So, but the
Roughly. I mean,
heater,
if you had to guess. I mean, 1,000 degrees. Yeah.
the heater also kind of acts like a load bank. You know, it's got an electrical heater, so
Right. Yeah.
it adds
Yeah.
it adds load
Yeah,
to your
you're
generator.
adding
It's
draw
a
to
very
it
good
as well,
thing.
so.
You can do fuel burners too.
Yeah. Okay.
In certain applications that you can't use electrical heater, but that
Right.
doesn't create load on your generator. Like
Now, so like the service intervals, minus the filter system, I know the filters have to be changed so often, but service interval on like this system with the heating elements, how often are you having to pull that apart and clean that in there, or does it not have to be done?
Doesn't
Really?
Yeah, the heater doesn't have to be serviced
Okay.
or anything like that. The filters, we recommend once a year, just your yearly maintenance. Pull
Right.
the filters
Yeah.
and bring them, or we'll come get them and we'll clean them and put them back in. Otherwise, if you go 3,000 hours, that's whichever one comes first.
And you were telling me that this system will take out 97 to 99% of the particulates out of the exhaust system.
Yes.
That's just unreal.
Yeah, it's a big difference. It's really, really good system.
Yeah. Well, that's very impressive and very interesting to learn about. Thank you.
Yeah, when we do these, I take control of the entire system for the boat too, and that was very welcome to hear from some of the customers we have. So I put the DPF in there, but I also do their muffler, the inlet pipe, outlet pipe. I take care of the electrician, the marine electrician, to install and run the wires and everything. So the customer basically just have to call me if there is anything.
Right.
One
and
point
for
of contact.
you, that really saves you the time and effort of somebody, another subcontractor that you didn't have anything to do with, installs something improperly or whatever, and then you end up with this situation we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
So that way you start it and you finish it, and I think that's a great process.
Alrighty, so we've cleared everything with the DPFs.
That's really great to learn about that system. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, you're welcome. I do have one more thing I'd like to show you, but underwater exhaust.
Okay.
That fits on basically any size boat.
Yeah, love to hear about it.
The underwater exhaust traditional with a big muffler inside, big silencer, and a big scoop on the bottom of the hull.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, drag on a boat equals less speed, more fuel, and everything, right? So those scoops you put on a boat creates a lot of drag.
Yeah.
So this is a replica or a display of a type of sport fish. So you got your transom, the whole side, the furthest outboard stringer, and the chine. So this one I made as a complete unit that you can take in and out.
Right.
On a lot of our customers, we just put a lid from this stringer out there, and the gases run actually underneath this, and it exits here, right at the transom.
Right.
So we got a little transom notch there, as you can see, and underneath there's a little tiny wedge, about 1/2 inch tall. Mm-hmm. And this is extremely quiet, zero back pressure. We've actually drawn negative back pressure.
Wow.
We have over 500 installations right now. For a sport fish, this is amazing because normally on a sport fish, you'd have a big muffler sitting right here to take up all that real estate.
Right.
So when you get rid of that muffler, now you can put bigger fuel tanks, you get longer range, and everybody wants that, right?
This is a completely underwater system that doesn't require bypass valves?
Does have, not a valve, but we do have a bypass. We got a small chamber in here.
Okay.
To quiet down the bypass, and then you just run the bypass out.
Okay.
Some of our customers, they really do like the traditional holes in the transom.
Right.
So I said, put them in there.
Yeah.
You can still have your hole about 12 inches deep, and then you can put your generator or bypass and chiller, drain in there and everything. It still looks like you have an exhaust, but it's actually, it's just a...
Yeah. Now, when would you say that your most back pressure is created in the system? Would it be, when the boat's sitting stationary in the slip and it's not pulling the exhaust out from underneath because you're moving, or would you say it's at that 7 to 8 knot range when you're not moving fast enough to really pull it out?
Yeah, it's pretty great that you asked that question because they just take a big yacht, for instance. When you go in a sea trawl, you run it and you make sure the back pressure is good and wide open. Now you're at full speed and everything's working great.
Right.
But how often do you actually run the boat there? Not very often, right?
Right.
You're at cruise speed.
Yeah.
That's where, if you take the back pressure at cruise speed on many of these yachts, they're probably not meeting the back pressure.
Right. Yeah.
With this system, we check every 200 RPMs from idle to full tilt.
Wow.
And it's great.
It's a cool system. I can't wait to recommend it to a customer and get you guys involved because I've really enjoyed our time together. Thank you very much, Johan.
Thank you so much. Nice to meet you.
Back to you guys, and hope you enjoyed this segment and enjoy the rest of the seminar.
And that's a wrap for today. Yacht Engineering Week 2023 has been brought to you by our title sponsor, Pantropic Power, the local cat dealer. And our anchor sponsor, Robert Allen Law, the business of yachts. We would also like to thank our segment sponsors, Lürssen, Viking Marine Exhaust, Zemos, Marine Data Solutions, MPI, Bradford Marine, Ditech, Lewis Marine Supply, MPT, Tropic Ocean Airways, Ward's Marine Electric, Seabob, AquaBanas. We'll see you again tomorrow, 9:30 sharp.